الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على آل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. Tonight we are remembering a very oppressed and madloom Imam, an Imam that spent his many periods of his life in the prison, in dark, deep, humid prisons while being tortured. When you think about the position of Imamat and you think of the family of the Prophet, when you think of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, you realize that there should never ever be, na'udhu billah, disrespect to an infallible person from the progeny of Prophet Muhammad. But how could the Ummah allow, and how could the Abbasids command that Imam Kadhim alayhi salam to be tortured in prison? Mu'adham fi qa'r as-sujun, it says. Not only was he in the bottom of prisons, he was tortured. Comes from mu'adhab is adab. He was tortured, subjugated to torture in the prison. And for this reason, we believe that Imam Kadhim alayhi salam is Bab al-Hawa'ij. And possibly such a day like today in Kadhimiyya in Baghdad, possibly millions of people come to the shrine of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam because they know what is the reality, what happens when you subjugate someone to so much pressure and torture. And the reaction of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam of worshipping Allah in that prison, in that area where we wouldn't even put, na'udhu billah, I'm sorry to say this, we wouldn't even put an animal there. You wouldn't even subjugate an animal to the bottom of a windowless, dark prison just by himself, let alone someone chained up. And you would see him worship day and night, and you would see him having wudu and keeping his wudu for a long time period. And for us, he is a symbol that even though the Abbasids, Harun tried to turn off the light of Ahlul Bayt, but it's still after 1400 years, we still see the light of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam shine throughout the world. They could not turn off the light of this holy Imam alayhi salam. And even in the prison, you see that he would guide people that they tested him, some of the worst people of the time, people that were into the dunya and gatherings of entertainment and singing. They would test him, the Imam, and the Imam, with the nur that he had, the light that he had, he would change such people, change them into the best and into worshippers of Allah. So for us, we are always proud when we hear stories of the Ahlul Bayt, alayhi salam. We're always happy that we have them. And for us, you see that what type of funeral they had for him in Baghdad. What type of funeral that they gathered. It was one of the biggest hits to the Abbasids when they killed Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. It was a big hit for them. Because you have to realize Imam Kadhim alayhi salam was the son of Imam Sadiq and lived a time period right after everyone knew the knowledge of Imam Sadiq, Imam Baqir alayhi salam, the grandson of Imam Baqir, the son of Imam Sadiq. They knew he had 4,000 students, Imam Sadiq. So everyone knew the knowledge. They know who Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam was. But still we ask our questions, how is it possible that such an important person from the family of the Prophet can still be pressured and tortured and put into prison, time after time again? So tonight we approach and we ask Allah to accept, and I thank all of you for attending. And Allah has brought you here to remember Imam Musa Kadhim, the father of Ali ibn Musa Rida, and I'm sure he'll be very happy that you come here for him, because people love their fathers, obviously. They love their family members. And when you come for his father, it's as if you have come for Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida. And Lady Fatima Ma'asuma alayhi salam is very happy. The children of Imam Kadhim are happy that you participated in his istishhad and his martyrdom anniversary. So what can we learn from the time period of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam? You see, he lived in the time of 128 to 183 Hijri. 128 to 183. So during this time period of 35 years of imamate, the entire time he was not in prison, but he was in and out of prison all the time. You see that Imam Kadhim alayhi salam freed, we see in the books that he frees 1,000 slaves. He was during a tough time, the time of Shuhada of Fakh. Fakh is an area by Mecca where one of the grandchildren of Imam Hassan alayhi salam was brutally martyred with 300 of the Alawis. Was brutally martyred, and we have hadith from Imam Jawad alayhi salam after Karbala. The worst event that happened to Ahlul Bayt and to the Alawis was Fakh, and they called him Shaheed al-Fakh, Hussein ibn Ali ibn al-Hasan alayhi salam. And they were brutal. They would kill the followers of Ahlul Bayt. They would kill the Sadat, kill the Alawis. Those are related to the family of the Holy Prophet. Even though the Abbasids claimed to be family members, with Bani Hashim, somehow cousins. And even though they were against the Umayyads, because the Umayyads subjugated the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and they caused Ashura. But at the same time, the Abbasids, you could say, were even harsher in some instances than the Umayyads. So you see in the life of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, you see wisdom. You see a time period that even today, when you look at his opponents and you want to study history, for example, Harun Rashid, you want to study about him, it's very hard to find out the truth because he was the beginning of the Islamic golden era. And because he was very powerful, he was very successful, it's very hard for you to find places in history that he drank alcohol and others during his time period would drink alcohol. Imagine the infallible Imam in prison. That person that is pretending to be the successor of the Holy Prophet would have 30 different types of food. The Imam is suffering in prison. Well, that person that is claiming to be the successor of the Prophet would have 30 different types of food, a crown made of rubies, of jewels, giving money to singers, giving money to poets, abusing that position that he had. But Imam Kadhim alayhi salam was very strong. Many times he had debates, and very strong debates, that he was fearless. He did not fear them. But because of some situations, he had to make sure what he did was the best. So he was very active. So when you look at the life of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, it's a life of worship. It's a life of piety. So much so that some of the Sunni ulama, they say in history, they would visit his grave, visit his shrine, in order to get their hawa'ij. And for us, we believe in the same way, visiting him. We have traditions as if you visit Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala. Inshallah, on such a night, Allah will grant you the ziyarat and shafa'at Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam. But what's very important for us is that hikmah that he has, the wisdom that he has, and the way that he would guide people. The best way of guidance, we said this over and over, is being guided by God himself, being guided by the Quran, being guided by the Prophet of Islam and Hadith, and having Kamaluddin and Tamamul Ni'mah, which is the infallible Imam. To be guided by a living and present Imam. This is the best type of guidance. And you see, even though at this pressure that Imam Kadhim alayhi salam had, he would still guide people towards some of the hadith that he has. I'm going to share with you tonight some of the beautiful sayings of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. One is about, you see, first of all, he was a very humble person in general. When he would sit down with people that were from the lowest economic scale. And people would ask Imam Kadhim, why are you sitting with such a person? Why are you sitting and asking him for things? And the Imam was mentioning that such a person is my brother in religion. We're brothers in creation. We have the same religion. And saying that right now I say I'm sufficient. They say, you're sufficient. Why do you need to ask him for something? He says, well, there might be a time period where I might need to ask him for something. Not to ever be so arrogant that I'm so financially independent, I'm so rich that that's poor, those that are homeless, those that don't have anywhere to go. I can treat them unfairly. But in the Holy Imam would sit with such people and say, there might be such a time period where we change and we become poor and he might become rich and we might need to ask him for something. So the same Imam has this hadith about when you help people. Look in Tuhaf al-Uqul. I recommend for you. It's a beautiful book. Alhamdulillah, translated in English. Tuhaf al-Uqul. And it has sayings and hadith from different Imams. Another source is Scale of Wisdom. It's another good book. I saw today, I was looking at the hadith. I searched for Imam Kadhim, about 80 different hadith in Scale of Wisdom from Imam Kadhim alayhi salam that I saw. One of those hadith is this that we want to share tonight and learn from the wisdom of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. The hadith says, As-sani'a. As-sani'a in Arabic is khair, good. As-sani'a لا تتم السنيعة عند المؤمن لصاحبها إلا بثلاثة أشياء. If you do good to somebody, if you want to do a good act, a charitable act to somebody, there are three things that complete this thing. See, the Imams teach us, everyone knows to do good. Okay, I do good, I want to do good. But the Imam teaches you how to do good correctly, how to do good perfectly. Can you finish in complete goodness? Three things, if you ever do good to someone, inshallah you do. You're of the mu'mineen, you're of the believers, I'm sure we're always doing good. But complete it this way. Tasghiraha. That act that you do for that person, make it small. Tasghiraha. Okay? 1, tasghiraha. 2, wasatriha. Hide it. You don't have to tell everyone about it. Some people you see when they do something good for someone, they remember it over and over and say in their minds, do you not remember I did this for you in 1998, I did this thing for you in January 1st, for example, and they still remember I gave you $5, for example. It was a lot of money for me back then. For example, they make that small thing a big deal, and they use minna. So make it, even if it's something large for you, it's okay. No, Farsi we say, hichinis. That's not important, hichinis. Wasatraha, and hiding it from everyone, not showing I'm doing good to you, to show it to everybody. You can do it in a way that it's hidden. Right? So the Imam says how to be a true gentleman. How to be a true, because they were the highest of people that were Seyyeds, and they were masters of akhlaq. وَتَعْجِيلَهَا also, and to do it fast. If he promised them, do it fast. So then he says each reason. فَمَنْ صَغَّرَ السَّنِيعَ عِنْدَ الْمُؤْمِنِ فَقَدْ عَظَّمَ أَخَاهُ. And whoever makes that action that you do for your brother small, you have done ta'zim, you have brought your brother up. You have made him great. Because you said, that's nothing. No, I didn't do it. You either forget it, you don't mention it. And one of the issues we have in general is a good thing that we should try to do is try to always forget the good that you do to the people. And always try to forget that harm that they do to you. Always forget that. We're all usually the opposite. We remember all the good we do to people, and we can't forget. If somebody, said something to us last year, we can never forget. It's in my mind. I can't believe they said that. I couldn't believe they didn't answer Assalamu alaikum properly to me. They didn't give me respect that I needed. We shouldn't, as believers, always try to bring ourselves up. We should be humble. And you make that action small. Therefore, you do ta'zim of your brother. وَمَنْ عَظَّمَ السَّنِيعَ عِنْدَهُ فَقَدْ صَغَّرَ أَخَاهُ. And whoever makes that action very high has brought his brother down. وَمَنْ كَتَمَ مَا أَوْلَاهُ مِنْ سَنِيعَ فَقَدْ كَرَّمَ فِعَالَهُ. And whoever has hidden that action, whoever hides it, conceals it, has honored his action. وَمَنْ أَجَّلَ مَا وَعَدَ فَقَدْ هَنِيئَ الْأَطِيَّةِ. And he who hastens to fulfill the promise takes pleasure in the gift too. So you're teaching Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, teaching us to help people, but properly, with being able to say it's nothing, it's small, with hiding it, doing it privately, and also at the same time, hurrying up to do it. So we have 3,000 hadith in general for Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. 3,000 hadith. There are cases where Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam would guide people, and this is when somebody becomes so holy. Shaykh Mutahhari talks about this. That attraction of Imam Ali, the attraction of the Imams, that gravitation, that pull that the Imams have, and they do jazm, they take you, they take you, and they have daf too, they push away people, the enemies, they push them away. Imam Kadhim had, the Imams, all of them had this ability that when a person, even though they might be at the most, we could say, sinning of times, sinning of places, sinners, they had that idea, that ability to break forth those darkness, the barriers of darkness, and guide them. For example, you see in that story that Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, it's a very interesting story of Bishr al-Hafi. I don't know here, has anybody heard of the story of Bishr al-Hafi, the barefooted one? Bishr al-Hafi was having, you could say today, a modern day party. He was having a party. And the Imam alayhi salam is passing by this. And also when you have a party, you have people gathering there, and he had a servant. And he asks them, sometimes we are like this, when you want to guide people, we always say, no, it's not the good time for it. Let them, he's enjoying himself. Right now is not the best time to give him a mawidha, to give him advice. Let him finish, and maybe tomorrow you see him on the street then. But this is the ability of the Imam to strike with an arrow exactly, at that heart of that person. So Bishr al-Hafi was engaged in his, majlis of la'ab al-la'ib, and as it has in the story, and he has a servant. And he comes to this servant, and the Imam is very wise. He doesn't talk to that person directly, go in there. He talks to that servant and says, excuse me, that person, you're working for or whatever, I'm paraphrasing, are they free or are they not free? Are they a servant or are they free, the person that's having this party? And what do you guys think? Do you think he would be a slave? A slave would have that capability to have everyone at their house? Or he would be free? Obviously, he's free. He's not a slave. Because if he's a slave, he'd have to go work. He can't have all his friends over. So this, for them, was this question like, that's a weird question. Why are you asking? And obviously, yes, he's free. So the Imam sends this message to that servant. And then Bishr asks that person that crossed, they knew he was Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. They knew who he was. It's important. He says to him, what did he say? And he says, he asked this question, are you free or not? And then he thought, and he answers, are you free or not? And when he answers, he's free, he says, oh, I thought so. That's how a free person basically behaves. When someone's free, he behaves this way. So the Imam is meaning something else. He's not meaning, Bishr is going to understand what he means. What he means, he gets it. He says, am I free or not? Okay, I understand. That is what a free person does. He says that the Imam, he thought about it. The Imam is talking about something completely different. He's talking about, is he free from the realm of ubudiyat and worship of God? Does he have a mawla or not? Because if he had a mawla and if he obeyed his mawla, he would not have this party and have his friends over. So obviously he's free. He's free to do whatever he wants. Not he's free that he's not a slave. He's free to do whatever he wants. And he calls the Imams alayhi salam, not only do they call with their nur and light, kalamakum nur, their speech is light, they speak with the fitrah, what's inside us. What is inside every one of you? What is inside all of mankind from the beginning of creation, no matter what religion they had? Everyone wants to worship God. Everyone wants to seek who God is. Doesn't matter if they're in caves and writing things and drawing illustrations of who their Lord is. It doesn't matter if they're the right religion or not religion. In general, having religion is a fitri for us. We believe in all time periods and all places, people have sought to worship God. Is this not true? Look at all over the world and look in the books of history. The Imam is giving a fitri belief that Bishr had, even though it was concealed, that you should be worshiping Allah right now. You have left the mawlawiyat of God. And for us, it is the best pride that Allah is our Rabb and Allah is our Mawla, and He gives us commands and we're under His we are submitting to Him. And that is the purpose of creation of jinn and ins, to worship God. So he asks him, is he free or not? So then he says, realize, I don't want to be free. A lot of times you think that Islam is a religion that has too many regulations and restrictions. But look at the opposite. Do you want to be free, really? Do you want to be free to do whatever you want? Do you want to be just let go and let loose? Or do you want to be under the realm of Allah and under the protection of God? Do you want to be under the commands of God? Do you want to be under the worship of God and know what to do during your lifetime? So he gives them this message in Bishr al-Hafi, they call him the barefooted one. He comes, and as I said, very hard for a person in the middle of all those guests, in the middle of possibility, to come crying and finding Imam Kadhim. It's right then, barefooted, running, rushing to find the Imam. Who said this? Rushing to find him and saying that I am a slave, I am a slave, I am a slave. I want to worship God, I want to worship God, I want God to be my Mawla, I want God to be my Mawla. Brothers and sisters, you have this great gift that you not only realize that God is your creator, that you realize that God is your Lord. You have Him. Because those that don't believe, they don't have a Mawla. They don't know what to do. You know what to do. You have instructions. Do we not have instructions? Is it not clear for us how to live our life? How many detailed rulings do we have in business transactions and marriage and divorce and court, how to bear witness, who is a witness, who is not? Everything for us, Islam is a very complete lifestyle for us. A very manifest lifestyle. If you actually think about Islam, not is it just a religion just once a week in a center and everyone just worships, that's it. Islam is very explicit and very apparent. That as if all of you are advertising the worship of God when you're walking. Sisters, you see, they have hijab. For an abd of Allah. I am submitting to Allah. Brothers, we have inshallah, we have beards, we have some signs that we have religion, we do salat, and salat is very manifest outside. When you do it at work, everyone's like, what is he doing? Very powerfully is sujood to Allah. He's showing he's a Mawla. We have the stamp that we're an abd everywhere. You can't hide it as a Muslim. Either the clothes you wear, the lifestyle you have, the way you talk, you say assalamu alaikum, for example. The meat that you eat, the food that you eat, it's all over our life. And for us, this is a great gift that we have instructions. And Imam Kadhim alayhi salam is teaching Bishr and teaching us that even at the worst situation, I will wake you up. Even if you're in a complete ghaflat of God, I will say something to you that will completely wake you up. Imam Hussein alayhi salam did the same thing to Hur. Hur is coming to stop Imam Hussein. He's Yazidi. But Imam Hussein does something to him, a spark. The Imams, they have a spark. It hits you, you're done. You become an abd for the rest of your life. That is why we come to these majalis are so important. We're looking for that inayah for Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. One dua, we call him Bab al-Hawa'ij. How do you not know that because of one majlis you're at? Right now, alhamdulillah, we are blessed to be here and remember him. How many people are somewhere else? Alhamdulillah, after the pandemic or during the pandemic, people think that they don't need the masjid anymore. All they need is their prayer mat and YouTube, and they stay at home. Well, people have their own excuses, that's true. They go everywhere else. The sad thing is, you see, they go to the restaurants, they go to work, everything else is allowed, but the masjids, they think there's COVID only here. But we realize that in reality, that when you come to these centers, when you come to majlis, it's something else when you sit here. And that God hasn't taken that away from you. He has invited you. They asked one of the ulama, they asked him, when you go to ziyarat, is it qismat or is it himmat, for example? They asked him, is it your own will, your own himmat that I've come to the ziyarat of the Imam? It's up to me? Or is it qismat? Is it they signed that you were to be there? It's not in your head. They just brought you there. The alim said, none of these. It's not when you come to the ziyarat and visitation of imams, it's not necessarily your himmat, your own effort, or your qismat, or your destiny. He says it's da'wah, meaning that you were invited. You were invited for that ziyarah. I believe the same things for the majalis, especially when it's the night of the martyrdom of Imam Musa al-Kadhim, that you are invited here. Do not think that everyone is allowed to come and cry, because when you come here, when you ask Allah with His name, Allah, it's very difficult for God now to say no to you. Very difficult. Very difficult for Fatima Zahra alayhi salam to reject you and not listen to you. You have so many hawa'ij, we have so many needs. And we always remember this from the hadith for Ahlul Bayt. They tell us, keep knocking on the doors of Ahlul Bayt. Keep knocking. Eventually, that door will open for you. Eventually, that door will open. Coming to the majlis of Bab al-Hawa'ij and understanding that I make a dua here. I cry for the Imam. Half of your du'as are already answered, I believe. You're already halfway there, whatever you want. Halfway there, because of what it makes sense for God to bring you here with the holy Imam's name, to cry for him, to cry for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, to cry for one of the most madloom Imams that we have, prisoned in darkness and tortured. And then for him to reject you and say, I don't want to answer your dua, it wouldn't make any sense. So that's why we believe that these majalis are so important. If we could, we would have them every night if we really could, all the time. But it's incumbent upon us, especially those nights of martyrdom, to come for Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, there's this beautiful story that he guides Bishr al-Hafi. Ma'mun Harun Rashid gives him another test. He gives him a test of a lady. And he says, I'm going to embarrass this person. He's in prison, away from his family. Right now you're thinking, where's Imam Rida alayhi salam? Where's Fatima Ma'suma alayhi salam? Some say that towards the last parts of her life, she was maybe 6 years of age, she didn't see her father. She didn't see her father in these deep, dark dungeons. And they bring a lady to Harun, who's a very clever person, powerful person, to be able to show the entire world that, look, and then to expose him. It was a setup. He was going to frame him, to set him up. And the same Imam, I told you that the Imams have this attractive personality. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, if your heart has that capability of inshiraf to open, the Imams will guide you, because they're A'immatul Huda. They guide you. So they bring this lady, a beautiful lady actually, a lady that would sing entertainment. They bring it for Imam Musa al-Kadhim. She goes once there and comes immediately back and says, he doesn't want anything to do with me. He is just doing sujood. He is just worshipping in prison. He doesn't want to look at me. Day and night goes, one salat, then another salat. He concerns another salat. He doesn't even want to know who I am. So again, comes back. And finally, they see after a time period, the same lady, I said, doesn't matter who you are. If you have the Imams alayhi salam, and because that knowledge is from God. See, brothers, when you want to judge someone, it's very easy to judge them, say, go, you're faster, go away, go get lost. But you don't know where that person came from. You don't know what their childhood was like. You don't know what troubles they had. Each person has their own tests. Not everyone, their father and mother are Ayatollah al-Udhma, I don't know, this, Arifa, Alawiyya, Falan, mother, right? Everyone has their own tests and tribulations. And we're taught that if we knew where people were from, you wouldn't judge them this way. But the Imams, everyone else judges you about what you have, what you wear, how you talk, but the Imams don't judge you like that. They look at that potential and they don't say, oh, this is an evil person. So the Imam, even her, guided her. And they came and they saw, this is doing sujood. She's doing, subhanaka. She's doing worship of Allah. And she became so religious, again from that spark of Imam Kadhim, so religious that she kept that same path, kept that taqwa until she died. And she died a little bit after she met Imam Kadhim. It was her qisma to die with iman. You know, some people, their entire life is full of sin, but one experience, one inayat, one lutf of the Imam, at the end of their life they'll die with iman. Others, opposite, entire life worship, but then they have an aqibah that is so. So you look at these hadith from Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, beautiful hadith. 3,000 hadith we have from him. The Imam, the tortured Imam. As you see this hadith, how beautiful it is. He actually narrates from Luqman, the Hakim. Inna dunya bahrun amiq, Imam Kadhim. We want to act. We want to not only love Ahlul Bayt, we want to become like them. We want to learn lessons. We want to go home tonight with something to do, right? So you see, he says the dunya is bahrun amiq. The world is a deep ocean. Be careful. The world is a deep ocean. But there's a way to save yourself. قَدْ غَرِغَ فِيهَا عَالَمٌ كَثِيرٌ. Many worlds, many people have drowned in this world. You're saying everyone is drowning, especially this time period. They say the occultation will be so difficult. Occultation of Imam Mahdi will be so difficult that many people will leave the belief of Imam Mahdi, except those that it's written for them, iman. Many people will leave. Ocean. Many people have drowned. How can we save ourselves, Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam, yes. How can we, from listening to your hadith? فَلْتَكُنْ سَفِينَتُكْ فِيهَا تَقْوَى اللَّهِ. So make God-wariness your boat. Make taqwa and not sinning your ship of salvation. Make your taqwa so strong that you will float, even though you can be in the most deepest. You see a boat, it doesn't matter if a boat is in shallow water or in deep water, right? A boat will still float as long as it has that, conditions to float. So when you have taqwa, it doesn't matter where you are. You can be in top of the deepest trench in the world, but you'll still not be, drowned from the ocean. So keep taqwa as your boat. But continue. Faith, its content. Trust in Allah, its sail. Do you want to go? What does a sail do? It makes you go forward. Make tawakkul, that boat that you have in this ocean, with all those tribulations you have, all these dangers, tawakkul Allah. I put all my powerful, I know He loves me, I know He'll take care of me. That's it. I don't need anybody else. He's sufficient for me. And then you see here, وَقَيِّمْهُ الْعَقْلَ, and use your aql, and reason is its custodian. So you're talking about in this difficult test of life, use your taqwa, have tawakkul, have iman, and reason is its custodian, knowledge is its guide. وَدَلِيلُهُ الْعِلْمِ, seek knowledge, and that will give you the direction. Every boat needs to know where to go. When you have knowledge, as Shahid Mutahari mentioned, is like the headlights of the car. It knows where you're going. You're not going the wrong way. You seek knowledge, you know your responsibility. I know what to do now. Our lives are full of contradiction. Our life is full of tests. I don't know, what should I do right now? And they always call and they don't ask. They ask, what should I do right now? When you have knowledge, you know what your responsibility is. You know what the taklif is. And patience, its inhibitants. وَسُكَانَهَا الصَّبْرِ. And have this boat that you have, the ship of salvation, have patience. Imam Kadhim alayhi salam was a very Imam that was in a lot of punishments and tortures, and he was present, and he was very patient. And the last hadith we learn from him is that Imam Kadhim alayhi salam mentions this, that he says that this is salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa that when you have trouble in life, there's two types of people. One is a person that when he has troubles and tribulations, he loses it. Yes. So verily, he who is preserving in the face of adversity is the most, you say, inna sabrakum ala al-bala lazahadakum fi dunya. Those that are the best able to take bala, those that are the most strong when they face bala, they are the most zuhd, they have the most zuhd in the dunya. When you are separate yourself from the dunya, then you could be the strongest of people because they can't harm you anymore. They can't take away something from you because you have already left the dunya. What is there to take from you? So those that are the most zahid, they're also the less affected by bala. But now the billah, if bala happens to a person, al-musiba lil-sabir wahida. How beautiful this hadith is. For a person that calamity strikes him, he has one bala, one musibat. What is his musibat? Just that bala, because he's not affected by it. He has that bala and he's dealing with it, that's it. But with a person, walil jaze ithnan, but a person that loses it, a person that cannot tolerate that bala, he has two types of bala. He has that real bala and now that calamity of not being able to deal with it, that emotional stress, that anxiety. He added another bala to himself. So when it comes to logic, would you rather have one bala or two? The bala is there no matter what. If you're going to go crazy and you can't tolerate it or not, it's going to be there no matter what. Now that it's going to be there, you can either make this bala one or make this bala two. You can keep it one by being patient. But you can turn this bala into another bala by having anxiety, by being anxious and losing it and losing hope from Allah. And that's another bala itself. So Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, this is the secret, that asceticism and zuhd of this world won't affect you as much. They can't take what you don't have anymore or are not attached to it. And second of all, when calamity, God forbid, strikes us, you can either make this calamity one or make it two. If we can dim the lights tonight, inshallah, we'll read the musibat of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. And for us, this is very important, to be able to cry for Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, or the father Imam Rida alayhi salam, the father Fatima Masuma alayhi salam. Brothers and sisters, when you look at the ziyarat of Imam Kadhim, in this ziyarat, you see details of how this Imam was so madlum. Ziyarat Nahi of Imam Hussein alayhi salam mentions the details, and some details are not even in the maqtals. One of them I'll just say to you is that Imam Hussein alayhi salam mentions in Ziyarat Nahi that he was trampled by horses twice. We always hear that Imam Hussein was trampled once when he was dead. But in Ziyarat Nahi it says when Imam Hussein was still alive and he falls off his horse, he was also trampled. Here in this ziyarat we have, and I'm giving you the source from Ibn Tawus, Misbah al-Zair. And again, I said you should not even be able to say the smallest thing to a holy Imam. Such a compassion. People are worth different levels. Sometimes you notice this, when somebody does something bad to a normal person, okay, that's bad. But when they do it to a pure person, a kind person, someone that loves everyone, it's so terrible. It's 10 times as worse. But to hurt an infallible Imam is a million times, billion times worse. Because they're the purpose of creation. That's God's best creation. Not only should he have been taken, they shouldn't have summoned him to Baghdad or Basra. They shouldn't have summoned him. But how could they have put him out? The ziyarah says, wal mu'adhab. Mu'adhab is from adab. Adab means to torture. They tortured the Imam fi qa'r al-sujoon. I apologize, Imam Zaman. I apologize, Imam Rida. I apologize, Fatima Masum. I wish these things were made up. I really wish that these sources were made. I would be happier that this didn't really happen to our Imam. Wal mu'adhab fi qa'r al-sujoon. You have a prison, then you have qa'r al-sujoon. Qa'r means the bottom of prison. I saw some photos. They say this is similar to the photo that Imam Kadhim was. It was a deep, dark place with no windows. Complete darkness. Imagine something you could say today like solitary confinement, but deep dark down. As I said, you wouldn't even put an animal there. في ظلام المطامر, in the darkness of cells. The ظلام المطامر, how dark it was. You can't see us. Is it Fajr? If you can't see, is it Dhuhr? Is it Maghrib? I don't know what time it is. How easily we right now pray. But brothers and sisters, our Imam was praying with difficulty, not knowing what time period it is. Being all alone, being chained up. You chain an animal, you don't chain an infallible Imam. It says, Al-Matamir, some say here, it comes from Matmura. Because Baghdad is on the Tigris River. When you dig down, you're going to hit a well, you're going to hit water. So a humid place, you're always sweating, and very hot. Humid Matamir, Dhulam al-Matamir. And it breaks our hearts to say this. I apologize, Imam Zaman. The Saq al-Mardu, that the rings were around his legs so much that his legs were bruised. His legs were bruised. They would come to see, where is Musa ibn Ja'far? They would only see an abba, only a cloak. There's nothing left of the holy Imam anymore. He is Kadhimul Ghayth. He has clemency. But he would call and ask Allah to bring his death about. He says, bring me my death. Bring me rahat and rakhsa from this prison. Ya Seyyedi, you can still hear his du'as, his calls from the bottom of the prison. Ya Seyyedi, najini min habs Harun wa khallisni min yadeh. Oh my master, please save me from the hands of Harun. This is our holy Imam alayhi salam. Who's this deceased stranger? Where have his family gone? He departed from this world oppressed. For what sin was he poisoned? What sin did Imam Kadhim commit that he was poisoned? O Shia, when a person takes his last breath, his family and children and siblings surround him by his side, but Imam Kadhim was all alone in prison. They gave him a poison. They say that when you get hit or you drink this poison, it's as if you're bit by a snake. And you twist from one side to the other side and twist and twirl in the darkness of prison. Nobody can hear his voice. O Shia, when a person takes his last breath, his family, children, and siblings surround him by his side. One would make him comfortable. Never had we witnessed chains being tied up around a dying man. The tightness of the chains made him bleed. The evidence of this day can be seen. For what sin was he poisoned? Tonight, ask yourself, what sin was he poisoned? Who's this deceased stranger? Where have his family gone? He departed from the world oppressed. From what sin was he poisoned? Musa ibn Ja'far was known for his patience, and no prison could change him of this title. With humble tears, du'as, and sincere prayers, he would count the day of his release. The most evil beings oppressed him day and night. He was even denied sunlight. They did not allow your Imam to even see the sun. For what sin was he poisoned? Who's this deceased stranger? Where have his family gone? He departed from this world oppressed. From what sin was he poisoned? As-Sindiya Shahib Nishahik, the brutal person that poisoned the Imam and who managed the prison, tells the Imam, do you need a burial shroud? Do you want me to give you a burial shroud? The Imam tells him that Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam do not accept burial shrouds. We take that from our own money. Meaning this, you could say to As-Sindi, meaning this, that soon my son Ali ibn Musa Rida will be here. I don't need your shroud. Ali ibn Musa Rida will come here and he will bury me. And he will bring the shroud for me. Wala yawmaka ya Aba Abdullah. And no day is like your day, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. No day is like your day. Imam Kadhim alayhi salam had a vast funeral. So much so he had a grand funeral that the same person as Sindi ibn Shahik was pushed off, the same person that did dhulm, he was pushed off and he fell down the bridge and was drowned that same day that Imam Kadhim alayhi salam was martyred. But no day is like your day, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Rida came for Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. Who came for you, Imam Hussein? Who came for the headless body of Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Who came for the trampled body of Imam Hussein with the hooves of horses? 3 days and 3 nights, your Mawla, your master, thirsty, his headless body remained in Karbala. He was hit with rocks and stones and arrows in front of his family. At least Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, his family wouldn't see that when he was mu'adhab and tortured. But the family of Imam Hussein would see every time Imam Hussein was hit with rocks and arrows, as if in the Maqtal it says that at the end he became like a porcupine with so many arrows struck, in his family observing. وَلَا يَوْمَكَ يَا أَبَا عَبْدِ اللَّهِ. No day is like your day, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Ya Allah, because of the madhlumiyat of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, grant us our hawa'ij because of Bab al-Hawa'ij, inshallah. Give us the ziyarat of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam in Baghdad and Imam Jawad alayhi salam. Give us kadhm al-qaid, allow us to have patience when it comes to our anger, inshallah. Ya Allah, there are many people that are sick, they're asking for du'as. Give them shafa, inshallah, especially the children that are sick, the children that are in poverty, the children that are being oppressed in Yemen, all over the world, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you to give us ma'rifat of the Imam, inshallah, because if you give us ma'rifat of the Imam, our deen will be complete, inshallah. Allah, we ask you how Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam guided Bishr al-Hafi and told him about ubudiyyat. Make our lives, because of Imam Musa Kadhim, full of ubudiyyat and worship of Allah, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you to expedite the return of Imam Zaman and make us of his sincere companions. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات.
سلام علیکم و رحمت الله. تقدیر و تشکر میکنیم از امام بزرگوار مسجد النبی لس آنجلس جناب حاج آقا رضویان. سال روز شهادت هفتمین اختر تابناک آسمان امامت و ولایت حضرت امام موسی کاظم علیه السلام رو به ساحت مقدس آقا امام زمان عجل الله تعالی فرجه الشریف و خدمت همه شما عزیزان تسلیت عرض می کنم. صلوات بلندی هدیه بفرمایید. السلام علیک یا موسی بن جعفر ایها مانند تو کسی تک و تنها نمی شود، زندانی مصیبت و غمها جسمت اسیر ضربه شلاق و ناسزاست، جسمت اسیر ضربه شلاق و ناسزاست. این زخم‌های کینه مداوا نمی‌شود. این رسم میزبانی یک روزدار نیست، افطار او به مشت لگد وا نمی شود، نمی شود، نمی شود. زنجیرها رسانده سرت را به زانویت، زنجیرها رسانده سرت را به زانویت، کاغذ هم این چنین که تویی تا نمی شود. آری تو هم به جد غریبت کشیده ننویسم از مصیبت عظما نمی شود. آی آی اما دلم گرفته ز اندوه دختری، تشت و سر و 3 ساله بابا نمی شود. شکر خدا که دست تو انگشتری نبود، بر روی دستهای تو دعوا نمی شود. هنگام حمل پیکر تو بین کوچه ها شادی و سوت و هلهله برپا نمی شود. سلام. هنگام وداع باحال شده گویی غم دل 100 سال شده. هنگام وداع باحال شده گویی غم دل 100 سال شده. غرق محنم این ثانیه ها هستم به خدا دلتنگ رضا غرق محنم این ثانیه ها هستم به خدا دلتنگ رضا گشت وقت رهایی از دست زنجیر با دست تقدیر سر شد شب من دارم شوق پریدن سوی مدینه از زهر کینه خون شد لب من وای خلصنی یا رب خلصنی یا رب خلصنی یا رب وای خلصنی یا رب خلصنی یا رب خلصنی همه وای وای خلصنی یا رب خلصنی یا رب خلصنی یا رب وای جانم خلصنی یا رب روشن شده دل در این ظلمات یارم نشده جز صوم و صلات روشن شده دل در این ظلمات یارم نشده جز صوم و صلات بودم شب و روز در حال سجود شد همدم من از اهل یهود بین زندان غمها شد پیکرم زخم از بس که بیره زد تازیانه از بغض کینه خصم رفته قرارم چشمان تارم دارد نشانه وای خلصنی یا رب خلصنی یا رب خلصنی یا رب وای خلصنی یا رب خلصنی یا رب خلصنی یا رب دنیای غمم این آخر کار بارد نظرم چون ابر بهار دنیای غمم این آخر کار بارد نظرم چون ابر بهار بیتاب و تبم زاد اقص سفر شد نظر حسین این اشک بسر بیتابم و زار در وقت سفر شد نظر حسین این اشک بسر میخوانم من دوباره از کربلا و از سر جدا و از تیغ و دشنه دارم بر سینه داغه یک قط نگاه و دست سیاه و لبهای تشنه وای خلصنی یا رب همه خلصنی یا رب خلصنی وای به کنج سیه چال پناهی ندارم، نه مادر نه خواهر کسی را ندارم. به کنج سیه چال پناهی ندارم، نه مادر نه خواهر کسی را ندارم. سرم راز غربت به سجده گذارم، سرم راز غربت به سجده گذارم. رضا جان کجایی؟ امان از جدایی، امان از جدایی. رضا جان کجایی؟ رضا جان کجایی؟ امان از جدایی. رضا جان کجایی؟ امان از جدایی. اسیر و پریشان تمام ملائک، اسیر و پریشان تمام ملائک، ز این جمله های لب ابن شاهک می آید شبانه چقدر وحشیانه، به جسم نحیفم زند تازیانه. رضا جان کجایی؟ امان از جدایی، امان از جدایی. رضا جان کجایی؟ رضا جان کجایی؟ امان از جدایی، امان از جدایی. رضا جان کجایی؟ به ساق شکسته ندارم توانی، به ساق شکسته ندارم توانی. نگویم ز ظلم رخ ارغوانی، نفسهای سردم رسیده به آخر، نفسهای سردم رسیده به آخر. نشسته دو چشمم به دیدار مادر. رضا جان کجایی؟ امان از جدایی، امان از جدایی. رضا جان کجایی؟ از زهر خصم کافرم می سوزه از پا تا سرم، از زهر خصم کافرم می سوزه از پا تا سرم، از زهر خصم کافرم می سوزه از پا تا سرم. داد از جدایی رضا کجایی؟ رضا کجایی؟ رضا کجایی؟ در ذکر یارب یاربم، خلصنی یارب بر لبم، در ذکر یارب یاربم، خلصنی یارب بر لبم. از زهر خصم کافرم می سوزه از پا تا سرم. ذکر صلاتم بده نجاتم، داد از جدایی رضا کجایی در بین زنجیر جفا دلخون ظلم اشقیا ماندم اسیر درد و غم دشمن کند بر من ستم چه بیکرانه با تازیانه مضطر شدم من پرپر شدم من داد از جدایی رضا کجایی رضا کجایی رضا کجایی صلی الله علیک یا مظلوم یا ابا عبدالله.
احسن برادر.